Hello, my name is Katie Morse, and this is the final of the Labyrinth level that I created over the past few weeks. So, with this level, I have a main character, and then we have a that's actually a adventure, kind of just an adventure, just wandering. And then they see this tree, and then that's when they're approached by a ghost or a spirit saying, "Hey, I need help. My soul is being guarded by Sabrius, the guard of the underworld, and he won't let my soul free. I need to get back to my family." So of course, when you first see that, your instant instinct is to trust him. And then he asks you to help him by going to Sabrius and feeding him, basically. So basically, what I want this level to be kind of like is that your character is a judge. They don't know anything about the ghosts or Sabrius or why the ghost died or why Sabrius is guarding it. They just know what is told to them. And throughout the maze, there will be things called evidence, where you'll see kind of past reflections of the ghosts, what the ghosts, how their life was. Now, that's where it gets tricky. So, there is actually 5 pathways, but the only reason there's 5 is because I needed that side to match up with that side. So there's actually 5. But there's 2 true paths, which shows the truth of the ghosts. Which, spoiler alert, he's a bad guy. There's 2 truths that show that to the player, and then there's 2 liar paths that show him as a good guy. And when these paths intersect, the evidence will become confusing to the player. So the player has to either trust what the ghosts originally told them or what they see. Now, when they encounter Sabrius in the center, of course, I'll actually show that a little bit. I don't want to spoil too much before I actually go into gameplay. So, as a disclaimer, I want to say off the bat, there is no enemies in this game. I started programming them, but I didn't have enough time to finish them, so I just cut them out. Same with the weapons. I had weapons for the player to be able to attack. Also, there is puzzles in this game which you need to do in order to get through the maze. I almost forgot to mention in the maze. So as you can see, well, now as you can see, some of the walls are kind of misaligned and everything, and some of the floor is kind of uneven. The reason I have it as that is because I kind of want to make the player feel like they're trying to have to piece together this ghost, and it's kind of like it's kind of represents them as, like, I don't know how to say it. It just represents like how they are in general, and like you being a stranger trying to figure them out. This originally wasn't gonna turn into a horror game kind of feel, but it ended up being it because the mood and everything. But it actually turned out really good. So without further ado, I will start going through my gameplay. So when you first approach the ghost, he'll come to you in a cutscene, and then he'll give you a text, and he'll talk to you saying that, "Hey, I need help," and then, "Will you help me?" And then I said, and then he says that, and then I said, "Okay, I'm gonna help," and then he just vanishes. And then it'll ask you to repossess the character. The main reason I made this tree kind of green and kind of like in the middle of like these weird piece blocks is because I wanted the player to approach it, and also to it kind of gives a unsettling appearance, since this is the only form of life besides the Sabrius and the ghosts that actually exists in the world and actually breathes. That's not evidence, so it just adds to that effect. When the player comes here, they'll also get another cutscene explaining the crystals. So when you get lost in the maze, what happens is depending on where you're at, you can look up to a crystal. The closer you are to a glowing crystal, the closer you are to an entrance. So the player does get lost and they're like, "Where am I?" or "What's the closest thing?" They can go to that crystal. It is encouraged that the players do explore, so they can find more evidence and try to piece together what they think, who is the bad guy and who is the good guy. So I'll show you one pathway. Also, another disclaimer, one of the pathways, when I get to a certain point, it may kill off my character. I don't know why it does this. It's just a bug that happens in this game. I have encountered it playing other games, but I'm not exactly sure. As you can see, it's wide open spaces. It's to help for those people that are claustrophobic. There is some closed-in spaces to make you feel anxious, but other than that, it was mainly supposed to be for enemies, but we weren't able to implement that. So our first piece, we have an object, and when you approach it, it'll ask you to press triangle, and you'll pick it up. So I want the square to kind of be like in your way, kind of like a burden. Like finding this evidence, finding these things, opening paths is a burden to figure out someone. So that's why I made it like this. And then you'll go to a glowing object, and then you'll press square, and it will open the doors. So, of course, we have our first piece of evidence, so when I approach it, it will do this. It'll say quote, and then show the text in like a weird, eerie camera view, and then it'll go back to the player. So as you see, that's the truth. That's part of the truth path. We're gonna go down the liar path as the first pass. This is just where it kind of intersects with between, because you have this pathway that goes down that way, and then you got this pathway with the lever, which you will pull, and it'll open two doors. It also displays triangles, which you can flip back and forth, but once you flip it, the doors are open. And then we reach our second evidence, which is this liar path, making him appear like a good guy. Oops, approached it weird. So also the text is kind of off too. Each text is a little different. If they are the same, as you see, there was a glitch bug where it just killed me off. So basically what that was supposed to do, it's supposed to show you, oh, there's different texts. The reason there's different texts is because wanted to be a little different. If they are the same, then they kind of correlate with each other a little bit more. So we're going to counter this real quick, and then we'll continue on our path. Also, I believe when this bug happens, it doesn't reset the level, so we should be able to get through it quickly. Also, I would make this character a little faster, but it glitches out even more when I do it. This level is massive, so please be patient when I'm running through it. So we're getting close to the area. As you can see, the box wasn't there, it was over there. You can still approach the items, such as like the apples and things like that. It will still play, so no matter what, if your character does walk into it, it will play the action. I'm just gonna go over here to the puzzle. And then we get our next puzzle. As you see, we have a blocked entryway. So what I'll do is I'll solve the puzzle really quick. So when I step on a block, it will glow if it's correct. If it's incorrect though, it will dim. So this gives feedback to the player like, hey, you got it incorrect. Luckily there's only 4 of them, so the puzzles are not too intricate to the point where you can't solve it within a few tries. And then as you see, the door opens, and we'll continue on our way. And then usually the evidence is placed near puzzles, so as you can see, when we get closer to our next puzzle, which is coming up soon, you'll see another piece of evidence as well. As you see, there's a blue block. It's kind of a pressure plate. And then if you go over here, you'll find our object right next to another piece of evidence. We'll go to the evidence first before we pick up the block. As his family needs a strong foundation. And then if you move away, it'll take you out of that. And then we will carry this piece to the pressure plate to open the door. And then we will go over here. As you can see, there's a lot of dead ends, and as you look up, there are crystals. We are close to the entrance, because you can see the yellow one really in close proximity. So I'm gonna go over here. This is when it gets confusing. The reason it gets a little confusing here is because on the other side is the liar path, so it's really close enough for the player to a little bit intersect. I'll show you it right now. So from that, the player doesn't know what's going on. They're confused because they were painted that it seemed like the spirit was all nice, and then they see that and they're like, why is there a blood spot? And then that opens the final door and then closes this door for a quick second, and then if you run, the door won't close on you. And then we respawn in. Luckily though, I was gonna actually rewind on that spot and go to my other pathways, because I want to show you the pathways first before we show you the last cutscene of the game. I'm gonna avoid this trigger zone so I don't replay the ghost thing. Again, I'm not 100% sure why it keeps respawning me like that, but it is. So, oh, gotta go through this cutscene. Almost forgot this one. Excuse me. So now I'm going to show you the liar path, which is one of the longest paths in the game. So also that was another thing too. I wanted to put a little bit more evidence and a lot more clear messages on the longer paths, and on the shorter paths it's to be a little bit more confusing. So it encourages the player to go explore, go try to find more evidence or whatever these objects are. I try to get a clearer picture of what's going on. I was originally going to have the enemies, if you're on the shorter path, they're going to be harder, and the longer path, they're going to be easier, but I wasn't able to implement that. So I'm going to go this way. As you can see, the puzzles are still kind of open, the ones that I at least interacted with. If the player wants to restart, they can restart it by pressing the rewind button on the dreams, and it will reset all the puzzles and everything. So I'm gonna come over here. And this is when it gets a little creepy. The liar path I thought was honestly the creepiest. As you see, the triangle buttons popped up, so the player knows to press triangle. I'm gonna go right here. And there should be a lever. Yep, right there. And then it's gonna press. So this is the truth path again. This shows the real colors of the ghost and how he's manipulating you by just a few texts and images. So when you open the door, that's the first thing you see, which I find one of the creepiest things I have in this level so far. And the message is also creepy too. Death only continues to grow. As you can see, we're kind of still far away. We are close to the one crystal, but we're kind of heading towards the white one. And we're getting a little bit closer, but we're still quite a far away. As you see, there's a block over there, so I'm gonna go pick it up. And then I'm gonna carry it to the step. It took me a while, honestly, to remember these pathways. For the player, when they first play it, it will definitely be a little bit challenging, but I think that's kind of like the main puzzle of it all. Like, you have a giant maze and you have to figure out where you're going and how to get through it to get to the center. So I press square. and there isn't a there wasn't a evidence piece, I don't think, over there, because I have one in this little dark corner. Nope, oops, wrong way. Sorry. It should be around the corner. See, as you can see, I still sometimes get a little lost. Yeah, I put one over here because it was closer to the... It was... Both puzzles are kind of close to each other, and there's 3 of them kind of right there. If I do miss the evidence, I will show you it. I'll go over the maze really quick before showing you the ending. And then we have our next puzzle. This one I wanted to be a little unique, so since it's kind of curved right here, it's kind of hard to see the door or where it opens exactly. So I added a dislocated snake skull. I thought it was interesting to add. It's kind of like a side piece to one of the puzzles. So I'm going to do this little brick puzzle, which this one. As you see, he lights up and kind of points towards the door that opened. And then if we approach this red thing, it says Restless Rage. And then there's a lever, which you pull. And then it'll open a door on the side over here. And then you'll continue. As you can see, we are getting close. If I can... Yep, there he is. We are getting close to the white diamond, so we are close to our ending. Yep, I got lost. Oops. I think... No, it's not this way. It's this way. I think. Ah! And it restarted. Sorry about that. So I'll actually do the 2 lower paths, and then I'll go back to the top, since those 2 pathways do connect at a point, which is the beneficial part. So we are on the path of the liar right now. It will eventually turn into the truth path. Since there is, like I said, 5 pathways, there's technically 3 on this side and 2 on the other. Since we do have a lower section. So we'll go over here. We'll start with the lowest section. Let's see. So this is another huge puzzle I put. So there are some puzzles that are a little difficult, and this is one of them. The player has to guess which lever pulls the door correctly. So if I press triangle, it's not that one. If I press triangle on that one, it's not that one. And they have to kind of go through and find the right one. And the right one is this one. And then it goes to camera view, and it shows you the door that opened on the other side. So we are going to go on the lower path. So after I get around this corner, I want to take you down the lower path and not the higher path, and then I'll actually probably backtrack to the other path, since they're right, like they intersect, all 3 of them at a point, which should be around this corner actually. As you see, there's a puzzle over there. There's a puzzle right here with the jar. I'll show you that when I get back. That's the yeah, that's the liar path, which we're on right there. The liar path goes all the way down here, into that wall. That puzzle will open that wall over there. But I'll be going down the truth path, which starts literally right here. So I'll keep going down, and of course we'll see a golden coin. And it says money has lots of value. And then we'll keep going down here. And then we have another puzzle, which we have to do to open this huge door, which is another creepy puzzle. And it's the mask from, like, what you see in a theater company or in a Greek mythology. And if you approach it, this is hide how you feel. And then, of course, we are close to our entrance. I haven't been able to show you the entrance, so this is how the entrances look like. They're kind of like, it's kind of like the stepping stone kind of like layout. And then you can walk through, and you can kind of see Sabrius. Well, you actually can see the Sabrius. And the soul, which is the black thing with the shrinks. Which is also another thing. I made the soul appear black with strings, kind of alluding to it's a little like this game. It's dark. It's not clear as day. There's a lot of different things going on around it, which is how this maze is, where there's a lot of puzzles. There's a lot of evidence to find, so you can figure out if the ghost is an actual enemy or a good guy. Which actually, at the end of the game, is not stated clearly. It's kind of like up to the player to decide whether the Sabrius is the actual evil one or if it's the ghost, and you'll see what I mean in the end. So I am now going to show you the liar path. So I am going to go to this pot filled with plants, and it says life is beautiful. And then I'm going to this block. Also, I put the blocks up here because I also, like, some of them are higher than the others, just because I wanted it to seem like burden. It's always like hard to get to. Or burden is just being a burden, mainly. And then you go to it, and you press where, and that opens the door. With some of my puzzles, they do interact, as you've seen. This puzzle is going to interact with another one that is not shown quite yet. And there's a puzzle right there that was hidden. Also, some puzzles are unique more than others. This is one of them where it has kind of like a blood trail. We will get repeating evidences a little bit, but they are different in the quote and the way they look or the way they appear. So this evidence is, since our paths did cross and we are crossing 3, it's, I made the camera shake, and it's to be weird because you see a blood stain but yet a white orb, and you'll see the quote, and then it might creep you out. It creeps me out a little bit. And it says our memories will live on. So if I do it again, it'll shake the camera and kind of lift it, which kind of confuses the player. So when we do this puzzle, it opens the door. If we look up, we are right on the red diamond. And then if I run over here, we will be in our entrance. So now I'll cover the last path and kind of work my way kind of backwards a little bit. Just enough to that one puzzle piece where we kind of missed. If I missed any evidence, I'll kind of quickly look over the maze and see if I missed anything. If I do miss one, I will play it so you can see. works. It's sometimes easy to forget where puzzles are, since this is a large maze. Not puzzles, evidences, I mean. So I'll be going through this puzzle over here, which this one's also another tricky one. They also get a little bit trickier the more you are close to the entrance. So actually, before we solve that puzzle, we have to grab a piece, because there's a piece on the other side of the door. Also, we encounter another evidence. Oh, why does it not play? Hold up. I might accidentally put the trigger zone not close enough. Yeah, that's what I did. Sorry about that. I accidentally put the trigger zone not close enough to the item. So now I'll play. Sorry about this. Oh, that's why it's not even on the ground. Now it should definitely work. This is, I can be myself around you. It also shakes as well, because it's kind of because the paths to cross, they're about to recross again, and I had it right here. So basically, that whenever paths cross, they either have a weird message and a shaky camera, or they just don't make sense in general. As you can see, both of them are bright, and you think it's a happy expression, but then to tell you I can express myself around you kind of seems a little creepy. So, and then we're gonna pick up the box, and we're gonna go solve our puzzle. I'm probably actually gonna drop the square right here. Can I pick it back up? Oh, oops. I forgot, once you drop it, you can't pick it back up. So let me move it back to where it was. I'm so sorry about this. I forgot. Let me see if I can go pick it up again. If not, we might have to restart it, which I really... hopefully we don't have to do. Either that, or I'll just open the puzzle and, okay. Yes, okay. Whew. That was a close one. Sorry about that again. Sometimes I forget the qualities of some puzzles, or, as you've seen with the evidence, I forgot to lower the trigger box. So I'm gonna solve this puzzle really quick. See, that one doesn't work. Okay, that one's good. That one's good. I think it's... nope, it's not that one. So 1, 2... oops, not 3. 3, 4. And it opens the door over here. As you see, it would have been blocked off if we would have done the puzzle first, and we never would have gotten the box, which is required for the next puzzle, which is right here, to open the door. And also too, if you've seen, when you drop the object on the panel, it kind of dims down, signifying it's been touched. Let's see. And then we are close to the ending of this pathway. This is where I usually get lost. Sometimes I continue down through here, but it's actually